Hello respective viewers, I'm George from Ireland. So this video is about Prince Harry and his attack on the First Amendment. There he is living in the United States, a presumable green card holder. Now, I don't doubt his right to opine on anything he wishes, his legal right to do so, including on the American Constitution, whilst not being an American living in the United States. Even his worst enemies, I don't think would say it would be against the law for him to do so. They might consider it discourteous or unwise to do so, but he's a very discourteous and very unwise person. So here is this person who craves privacy and publicity at the same time. Is that level of illogic you're dealing with when it comes to His Royal Highness? So a lot of people in California and the rest of the United States no doubt wish that he would put a sock in it. This snowflake who keeps moaning about how difficult his life is, being such a crybaby, and is against the First Amendment. Okay, if he's against the right to free expression, why don't you stop expressing yourself? And that was one of the main complaints he and Meghan Markle had about being part of the British royal family, is that they weren't allowed to say whatever they wanted. So they want to be able to mouth off, and now they think people shouldn't be allowed to mouth off. There's a loophole in it, he said. That was the word, a loophole, as in people say things that he finds disobliging. I suppose that lèse majesté, he would think. My goodness, what a whinge bag. So this crybaby is rather tedious, but unfortunately he's actually important, and he is an influencer. And then he's got this sort of a non-job, some sinecure, mouthing off his ill-informed opinions about some trendy subject. Anyway, if he really wants privacy, why does he always violate the privacy of his own family by constantly washing their dirty linen in public, by bad-mouthing them incessantly? He claims to love the Queen, to respect the monarchy, so why don't you stop trash-talking it all the time? I mean, saying these things which are calculated to cause the maximum possible injury to the royal family, not only in a personal sense of hurt, but just disastrous for their public relations situation, really tarnishing their image. The name of Windsor has been dragged through the mire like never before than by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who are determined to prostitute their royal status for as much filthy lucre as they can get their manicured paws on. Anyway, if he really loves the Queen, if he really respects the monarchy, he's got an odd way of showing it, which is to constantly denounce it and cause as much damage to their brand as he possibly can. If it's so unbearable to be a prince, why don't you renounce your princely status, saying, I'm like being the Truman Show? Well, stop going on television then, you fuckwit, and stop giving all these interviews. I want my privacy. Well, don't tell us everything about your private life, your family life. Stop showing us your baby. We wouldn't even know where you lived or something like that. There are countries which have very strict privacy laws. Monaco, some celebrities hang out there. Let's face it, he could afford it. Some Middle Eastern countries are like that. Thailand, they're not allowed to insult the king. But yeah, he goes to the land of the free. Whatever you think is wrong with the United States, people in the United States certainly have freedom of expression. But Harry seems to hate that. So he's so avaricious, but he won't give up his royal status. Okay, even if he renounced his titles, a lot of the media would still refer to him as a prince, and people are not going to forget that he was a prince. He's still in the public eye. Think about these defunct royal families from Greece, even Romania, decades after they were disestablished as ruling houses. People still know who they are. The media still follows them. Admittedly, interest gradually decreases, but it will take at least a decennial period for public interest in Prince Harry and Meghan to diminish significantly. It'll take for Prince William's children to be teenagers, really. So, anyway, what a scumbag he is, talking about his own angst. Think of the anguish he caused your family. And your father, saying that he was a worthless father, that Prince Philip, who's not long in his grave, was a terrible father, that he's taking his child out from that genetic pain. What makes you think you're such a fantastic parent yourself? I mean, I don't know him to be a bad one. And you might say, well, what about me? I seek publicity. Yeah, I do. Okay, so I'm maybe a bit vain, egotistical too, but there is a difference. I don't tell you about my private life, where I live. Okay, it's London, but not more precisely. Do I have children? Do I not? Do I show family members on here? Nope. So he keeps invading his own privacy and yet then demanding it. So he's grossly hypocritical. Is so utterly inconsistent. Very thin-skinned, whinging about his own pain whilst causing such excruciating pain to his blood family. All these barbs. He's poisonous, and his toxic wife as well. He's totally uxorious. So Meghan Markle, I gotta hand it to her. She achieved her goal of being a princess, of marrying this guy with £40 million, who's then gonna moan that he doesn't get handouts from his dad. He's shocked at the age of 36 he might actually have to work for a living. Now, work in his case is, of course, mouthing off his idiocy about topics about which he knows nothing. He's ultra-crepidarian. He's a mental health advocate. Well, why are you damaging the mental health of your family by going on air to denounce them in the most offensive possible terms? So he needs a bit of self-care, does he? Well, I would suggest it be less therapeutic than going for these on-air therapy sessions. I mean, he's an ignoramus. Why on earth would anyone listen to this unemployed ex-soldier? I mean, who has no higher education, who got dreadful grades in school? Why do his opinions matter? No one would pay him a blind bit of heed if it wasn't for the fact that he was a prince. So anyway, he's totally under the thumb of Meghan Markle. So, I have a certain unwilling respect for the Duchess, because the Duchess of Sussex, she has managed to get that guy by the short and curlies. So he's led by the nose to, speak to all these journalists who are her groupies, and notice they've got their pet journalists, and they're this carefully curated image. It's only people who are willing to act as megaphones for their propaganda that will get any access. So you have to be a typewriter for the brand of Meghan and Harry. Notice with this couple, it's always Meghan and Harry, not Harry and Meghan. All other couples, it's always the boy's name first, like Adam and Eve, Romeo and Juliet, and so forth. So these two, talk about privilege. They're literally privileged. They had royal titles. They didn't have to travel with passports, VIP entrances all the time, taxpayers' money. People on minimum wage were giving them money. And yet they're going to calumniate the royal family, the whole system, constantly blackguarding their blood relatives, these two woke warriors. And they're so trendy. They're signed up to the BLM movement. And all right, I agree with the gravamen of the BLM movement. Police officers shouldn't be allowed to murder black people and get away with it. But you don't have to agree with every item on the BLM agenda to recognise that the central thrust of BLM is a righteous one. So these woke warriors, then they're making money out of a skincare brand. That same skincare brand is selling this skin lightening cream in Asia and Africa, where certain people who are born with plenty of melanin, don't want to be so dark, are lightening their skin. Now, isn't that racialist? Isn't that appealing to white privilege and stuff like that? But, there are no ethics where these two are concerned. Business is business, whether it's betraying their family or whether it's making money out of a white supremacist company. It's just fine by these two. I mean, come on, they've only got like £40 million. They've got to live. Anyway, so they spend millions, they make millions mouthing off about all sorts of subjects, slandering their family. So knowing that the royal family consider it infra dignitate to sue for libel, and one of their gripes about Buckingham Palace is Buckingham Palace wouldn't launch a fusillade of insults or denials or whatever at the London Press Corps, just when some British media outlet said something that these two found unflattering. So anyway, if he's against the First Amendment, he ought to stop exercising his First Amendment causes, that there should be no freedom of assembly or what, that's a very retrograde step. Talk about how entitled it is. Perhaps he claims censorious right. He certainly likes to speak, this chap. And then, okay, to cap it all, I was thinking of doing a video about this about a week ago. Perhaps I'm a bit behind the times, but I think it rates a mention. Now I'm into it. Meghan Markle, her storybook on dads, based on this magnificent father-son relationship between Prince Harry and his son Archie. Well, it is beyond chutzpah for Meghan Markle to tell us about filial piety. Look at the way she treated her own father. I mean, wow, it's almost risible. I mean, her preachments and all sorts of topics are just nauseating about, the you must not fly in a plane, and yet they took a private jet, putting out far more carbon than they would them going on a scheduled flight, or that they could have taken Eurostar to France. So these two are a sick joke. They've got no sense of irony, no self-awareness. They're that purblind. They have a tin ear for public opinion, and they've got their own claque, no doubt. They've surrounded themselves with their groupies saying, "Oh yes, yes, you're the biggest victim in the world, my darling," and they've hired some very smart and savvy PR people, but it seems like they're not going along with that advice. These two will not take advice, go dead against it, because much of what they're doing is actually damaging their public image. I mean, I would guess some of the things they did with Oprah is apparently the questions weren't agreed in advance, is full editorial control, cut out anything that doesn't look good, or give the interview to Oprah knowing she'll only give them P-roller questions a chance to make themselves look good, not ask them about any thorny issues that they would find embarrassing. Anyway, I take no lessons from Meghan, of all people, in how to be a good child towards mother and father. Anyway, and then one of Meghan's whines when she was on Oprah was, "You're not taught how to be royal." Well, I think you are, actually, because there was some protocol that you broke. How come, the others are not born into it? Commander Tim Lawrence, dullest man in Britain, but never put a foot wrong. He's married to Princess Anne. He gets it right. Kate Middleton never, ever made a single mistake. Or others, Mark Phillips, when he's around, he was absolutely fine, apart from the small matter of adultery. Fergie, she was fairly good at state occasions. I mean, again, adultery was not quite princessly behaviour. But, Meghan, you wouldn't take it when you were told that there were certain do's and don'ts, and you complained about that. My passport was taken, my driving licence was taken. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. But anyway, if that's it, so there are certain things you have to do and you're not allowed to do. Odd thing about not being allowed to drive, the Queen drives herself, even at this age. Prince Andrew drives himself, Prince Charles drives himself, loads of them drive, Princess Anne drives, probably all drive, Prince William drives. Why on earth would you not be allowed to drive? Or, not allowed to go out and all this. But wait a second, you went to Australia, you went to the United States, you went to France, you went to loads of places, you went all around the United Kingdom, you went to the Republic of Ireland. Don't tell me you weren't allowed out. You were allowed out loads. Loads of gala dinners and concerts and things like that, and guests can come to you. I mean, you were only living in the home park, the royal park, this royal estate several miles across. Wow, what a gilded cage. Anyway, but royalty is not always a fairy tale. These two seem to think it's the Truman Show and the zoo. Well, then get out of the zoo. You're still having yourself in that cage, then inviting the media in, or the Truman Show, them to watch your every move. You could fade away into obscurity. There's some people who are kind of less further down the pecking order, the line of succession. They're scarcely ever mentioned in the media. Lord Frederick Windsor, hardly ever mentioned, despite being married to a fairly major actress, to one of the Winkleman sisters. Or, Peter Phillips. Okay, he's not got a title, but he's something like 20th in line, hardly ever mentioned. Okay, Harry's not that low down, he's 6th. They could renounce their titles and they could just shut up and live a luxury lifestyle. They're living in great opulence as it is, but no, they want to rake in tens of millions because they're so greedy. Well, that's the thing about royalty, is there is duty, noblesse oblige. No, Meghan, you cannot do whatever you want, all right? You cannot mouth off your tendentious opinions, right? That you cannot say just whatever you feel like, especially when that's going to tarnish the reputation of the royal family. And here they are constantly bringing the royal family's name into disrepute. So you have to have regard for the feelings of others, yeah? Not trying to cause offence. Just because you say, well, you were hurt, all right, maybe you were. And then your solution then is to cause far more injury to as many people as you can. So it's going to be about service before self, not self-service, okay? Doing what's good for the public, what's good for the royal family's image, and not straying into controversial political areas. You're not there to be a partisan figure. Meghan, you're there for everyone. Everyone means everyone. That would include the racists. That would include anti-environmentalists. You're not a politician who was elected by a certain segment of the population, even by a majority of the population. Anyway, these two, they are symptomatic of a broader societal malaise to do with egotism, vanity, hypersensitivity, and so on. They really are sickening. I would like to never hear from them again, but unfortunately they are impactful, and because they're people of consequence, they merit comment. They do a lot of harm. All right, they maybe do some good. raising a few issues about mental health, but I wish they didn't contribute to the detriment of other people's mental health incessantly. There they are. Wow, you couldn't make them up. Sick.